welcome to the Fit and Faith podcast. You guys, we are here with Dr. Tiffany Tajiri, and I am so excited to unpack all that she is because holy cow, her bio is an action-packed punch in and of itself. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much, sister. You are salt and light. It's such an honor to be on your podcast. You rock, girl.
Oh, come on. This is going to be so fun. Back at you. It's so cool. When I read your bio, I immediately felt a kindred spirit to my roommate that I had for all 4 years in college. She was also currently in the U.S. Air Force. And and she is like a rock star and just like rocks fashion and being a woman and that femininity as much as she does being in a suit and her military attire. And I feel like when I see you, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are the same. And I don't think that that's very common, I'm sure.
How cool. I got to meet her from combat boots to heels, right? That's the way to go.
Yes.
Inside of us.
I'm going to connect you guys. That's so much fun. So, Dr. Tiffany, you are literally, your backstory has to be insane to get you to the places you are now. And I am so curious about it because you serve in such an abundant way as a clinical psychologist, as a therapist, as a behavioral health clinic chief in Fort Bliss, Texas, which is amazing. You're a founder of the Stand Up and Recover Incorporated. You've got this rhythm restoration and you're a co-author of Abundant Recovery Curriculum at a church. I mean, let's take a deep breath. Tell me how, when, why, where. Tell me all the things.
You're so sweet. You know, I think it started, God had placed this anointing over my life when I was a young girl. And it started with an 8th grade science fair project where literally it said, which way, right or left? And it was referring to the right or left hemisphere of the brain. And I was assessing from age groups to gender to people who do different professions, which one favored which hemisphere of the brain. And it ended up winning like a state championship. And from there on out, I was like, I love the brain. I'm obsessed with the brain. And I got to be some sort of brain doctor of sorts. And I just love human beings. God has placed it over my life just to be very compassionate, to have a bleeding heart. But he's also given me that full armor of God because we have to have that on when we're helping other people to protect ourselves. But it started in 8th grade. And then I would say I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Texas at El Paso, then went on to do my doctorate in clinical psychology in Atlanta, Georgia, known as the Georgia School of Professional Psychology. And then I did my residency at Wilford Hall and Air Force Base. And I was commissioned at that point as a captain, and I served 5 years, did some awesome work with special operations where I served as a psychologist for the selection and assessment of special forces, which was super cool. And then I just ended up getting out because I felt like I had to color outside of the lines. I'm good at smartly saluting if I have to, but I love to color outside of the lines. I love to be creative. I love to talk about Jesus in the center of our healing. And I felt, if I really want to have a voice, I really need to become a civilian. And so that's how I am where I am today.
That is incredible. First off, I have to take note that my 8th grade science project was with mealworms. So you definitely won in the choice department there. I have no idea where that came from, but yours sounds way more interesting and way more of a life trajectory path. So that's incredible that it was at such an early age. My curiosity as you're sharing is, God, you're speaking so abundantly about his, anointing on your life. How soon were you in your faith and exploring or understanding what your identity was through him?
That's a great question. And just like anyone else, it has its peaks and its valleys and peaks and valleys. And I think I really stepped into it in my early 30s. And so right now I'm at 37. So in my early 30s where I started really figuring it all out. Now, let me tell you, I was on a full existential crisis in my 20s, figuring it out, trying to understand, leaning into him, learning about all different faiths, to be quite honest, and saying, where do I belong and how does it make sense? What makes sense most logically to me? And then I ended up stepping upon the book, what was it, quite literally, and Andy Stanley's book, How Good is Good Enough. It's little itty bitty and tiny. And basically it just says, save people, go to heaven. There's no algorithm out there that states you need to have 97th percentile in order to make it to heaven. But it's like people who are forgiven and saved go to heaven. It's as easy as that. His love is completely and utterly abundant. And that just hit spot on.